Good morning. Thank you so much. I think you guys know this one, huh? Feel free to sing along. When the night has come and the land is dark and the moon is the only light we'll see. No, I won't be afraid. No, I won't be afraid. Just as long as you stand by me. And darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand now. Stand by me. Stand by me. When the sky that we look upon shall crumble and fall, and the mountain should tumble to the sea, I won't cry, I won't cry, said I won't shed a tear, just as long as you're standing here, darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Oh, no. Stand by me. Stand by me. Oh. Whenever you're in trouble, won't you stand by me? Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Stand by me. Ooh, stand. I need you to stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Stand by me. I need you to stand. I need you to stand right by me. Please don't leave me. Stand. Don't you be scared. All you gotta do is stand. And I'm standing by you. Ooh, stand. Thank you.
That's what we want. Now, how many of you have ever had friends that wanted to fix you? Or partners? Ooh. Of course, you're also enlightened. You'd never do that to your significant other. What we really want is somebody to just be there with us, to know that they've got our back and our heart. So thank you. That's a beautiful song. Speaking of songs, this is going to be a sort of a date yourself song. How many of you remember Three Dog Night? It's okay. You didn't miss anything. No, you did miss something, because I'll tell you, when I was in junior high and I wanted to be popular, and popular meant having a cute boyfriend. That's what, everybody had their own definition of popular. Maybe you could be a sports star or a mathematical genius or something. But popular, in my definition, was having a really cute boyfriend, so I could say I have that little cute boyfriend, and we would hold hands, because it was old. It was so old. So we just, anyway. But anyway, there was a song that was my theme song, because it just spoke to me. It was the way that I felt, and it was from Three Dog Night. One is the loneliest number. Yeah, how many remember that? One is the lonely, and I was, I know. I should have listened to the next verse, which is awful. Two can be as bad as one. It's the loneliest number since the number one. We laugh now. Because, let's just get this out of the way. What's the difference between tragedy and comedy? 5 years. Everything that was just so awful that you couldn't even bear it, 5 years later, you're telling your friends and having a ball. You're all rolling on the floor. So we laugh now because we went through it. And I do remember, unfortunately, I do remember being with another, being with a group, thinking that I was one of the crowd and still being so incredibly lonely. Has nothing to do with the number. Has nothing to do with what's on the outside. It has to do with a belief that somehow I can manipulate this to shift this. There's an old world order. And I'm talking about the old world order, which is probably just beginning to die, but it must die. The old world order is that we can make things happen that will make us somehow better, more complete, more fulfilled, more satisfied. That's the old world order. I was reading a French philosopher, because I looked at my books that I read this weekend. I think I read 3 books. They're all nonfiction. They're either quantum physics or philosophy or Joel Goldsmith. I am a nerd. I'm just a nerd in bright clothing. I'm such a nerd. God, jeez. I just try to hide it all by, let's wear fuchsia. Anyway. But I was reading this French philosopher, and what he said is that in the 21st century, we must wake up to our spirituality or we will perish. This is the century. We've got to wake up to realizing that what is true of spirit is more true of what's out in the world that we think is real. Spirit is more real. We need to live from that realness more, or we will perish. Because right now, the world faces issues and problems that are bigger than we can figure out. Praise God. Really. Because every time I've come up against something I couldn't figure out, something else had to work through me to get me through it, and that was a praise God moment. Einstein said we cannot, Einstein. Oh, my best friend Einstein. Anyway, I wonder if he wore bright clothing. Anyway, so Einstein said that you can't solve a problem at the level of the problem. So becoming more spiritual as a culture, as a people, as a planet, allows us to move beyond what created the issue so that so that we can see in places that we've never seen before, to see solutions that we weren't looking at when we were just looking at the problem. That's individual and collective. But the collective can't do it unless the individual proves it. Otherwise, it's just a theory and it's just another philosopher. So what you could do is you could go home and say something like, you know, this girl that came from Okie parents, instead of a French philosopher, this philosopher from Okie heritage said that in the 21st century we must become more spiritual. We must embrace that spirituality or we will perish. So, how do we do that? We must move out of the old order. That it's outside of us, it's away from us, and we can somehow acquire it or rope it in and get it. For instance, I could have been popular by doing certain things that would attract certain boys. I didn't, therefore not popular. Even that wonderful book and movie, The Secret, that sounds so spiritual, was still about somehow doing something inside of us that would draw things to us that we didn't already have. We don't have it, but we can get it by just visualizing it. If you visualize it long enough, it'll start to happen. Whether it is a job or a car or a new house, or in that movie, a bicycle. There's a way to do it because it's out there. The truth is out there. The stuff we want is out there. And that's the old world order. The new world order, the one that I want to talk about today, which is one of the most high spiritual teachings. It's the teachings of the mystics, is that there is a oneness and that we aren't separate from our good at any given time. And that the good we desire is already here. So I want to talk about three things. To convey this idea, I need to discuss three things. I'm just going to discuss them. I'm just going to throw them out there, see how they land. We won't get to the completion of this. That's why there is things like classes and working with a coach, and there's just more. I could share book titles with you. This is something you need to allow in and have it resonate within you so it shifts you. But some of you have heard this, but I want you to hear it in a different way today. Because I'd like us to all move into the new world order, which is that there is a system that is here to support us. Now, I realized first service that I need to start just talking about the system. Father, Mother, God, no, not Father, Mother, God, Father, Mother, system. Holy is your nature. See, when we say God, there's a tendency to make God a thing or a person, or at least give it a personality. And as soon as we give it a personality, we make God in our image. And we have a tendency to give it characteristics. Some good, some not so good. God is very kind. But so why wasn't my prayer answered? Oh, you got a point. I probably knew what I'd done. So we make God into Santa Claus. I got that prayer request. But I look here, and for the last 6 months, you haven't been saying your evening prayers before bed. And so I tell you what, you sign up for Create a Better World, give them a weekend, and I'll make sure that this prayer goes through. We make God into something instead of allowing ourselves to realize that it is the love, intelligence, energy, and power that is the substance of all, the creator of all, and the effect of all. It is what's going on. And that's hard for us to understand. So today I want to convey oneness, goodness, and access to that goodness. So let's just start with oneness. It's hard to get our mind around it. But major religions teach that the Lord God is one. In Taoism, the one became the two that became the 10,000 things. Even in Hinduism, with all of their gods, they know they're all aspects of something that is beyond even Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. There was something even beyond all that. So we're talking about the beyond, the thing that is not divided, that can't be divided, that has been eternally expressing and will continually express. And man, that's hard. Mystics have perceived, and I have done it a few times, and it stays with me, and then it's gone, but I remember seeing everything as alive. Everything as an expression of divine intelligence, and everything is an expression of love and something daring to support its creation. They see life as a whole. But we see life as a life and a life and a life and a life and a life, because we're looking at the outer, we're looking at the edges. And yet, there's just so much evidence that what we think is true isn't true. I shared on Facebook that people are perceiving that trees have a heartbeat. I'm into trees. Trees have so much more to offer than shade and oxygen, which, by the way, is a really good thing. Trees talk to each other. Trees support each other underground. There's a whole network of community going on in a forest. And the mother tree is making sure that the nourishment that needs to go to any given tree is happening. It's amazing, the networking, that life, it's all a system. In Native American cultures, before, let's not get into history, but before some human beings brought horses to the North Americans, natives would run. If they needed to get someplace, they ran, and they'd run out of energy. And they would have a tree along the way that would be their tree, and they'd lean up against the tree, and they'd get this shot of energy. I mean, it was like, that's how Elon Musk figured out Tesla. Now, true. They go plug it. Thank you, Gary, got it. You go plug in your electric car. Native Americans were plugging into a tree. I mean, literally, I'm not faking this. Tim used to run around when he was having his family, what do you call it, family rearrangement. And he could go crazy or he could run. So he would run around Discovery Park until the place where he couldn't run anymore, and then he had a tree, and he'd go lean up against it. Off he'd go. There's so much more going on to this system that we know of. So I shared this on Facebook, and Terry Smith says, yeah, and the rocks do the same thing. I go, rocks? Like, this is how far I can go. Yes, I believe a tree has lots more to offer, but I just draw the line at trees. You're not going to get me to believe in rocks. And I thought, well, that's just rocks. Why can't rocks be alive? She said she's going to tell me about her experience with rocks and how life-changing it was. And then I remembered. I took a group of people to England, and we went to Stonehenge. And there were a whole lot of rock circles. There's a lot more than Stonehenge, but Stonehenge you pay more because it's famous. But every time you would go to a crop circle or a rock circle, we were told you had to ask the guardian rock. Outside of these circles, there's a guardian rock, and you got to ask permission to go in. I might be of Oklahoma heritage, but I'm not that stupid. So but everybody's doing it, and I'm the leader, so I got to do it. So I go over and I touch this rock. And I felt yes. Okay. Nice rock. We are so limited in our perception because we are perceiving what we can understand, and we're seeing the edges of things. A way that I like to explain oneness is that we are in an ocean of life, intelligence, creativity, everything, and then the ocean takes form, expression, and we call it a wave. And we're just a wave in time. And we look out from our vantage point, we see other waves. And we're not perceiving the place where we meet in the depths. But if you meditate enough, this expression melts into a greater expression. We're one. There's a oneness going on. But what's more important is that there's a system going on. So the way that I like to think about myself and the way that I try to now live is as though I am a cell in the body. And every cell has its place, every cell has its purpose, every cell has its job, and the system of the body supports that cell. And when all the cells do well, the system does well. And it's the system that must support each cell so that it can continue on. Does that make sense? It's one. We're a system. So that's why I've always thought this, but I've never put it into words. What I have called God is a system of support, which leads me to good. The mystics and the people who have spoken and lived in such a way that religions were built around them have said that the essence of this system is goodness, not relative goodness, but universal goodness. Relative goodness is my flavor of Haagen-Dazs is better than your flavor of Haagen-Dazs. So don't you bear mind me that Haagen-Dazs because I want this Haagen-Dazs. It's, relative is, it's the food we eat. There's certain types of food that I just don't enjoy. And I've noticed that my in-laws don't enjoy mine, so it's cool. Actually, it's really good for me because they cook when they come to my house. Do you know how that I like this and not that? We have our preferences, which is a very relative good. You have a right to your preference. But this system is a universal good. It's the thing that all creation needs. All creation needs security and variety. All creation needs to be creative and also to be contemplative. All cells, every bit of life needs to have a sense of support and a sense of love. We want to love. We need to love. Those are things that are universal, and the system supplies that. So when we understand that this system is here, we can say, I live, move, and have my being in God, but that's like crazy. People are going to go, don't share that with too many friends. Like, you live, move, and have your being in God. Doesn't make any sense. But if you say, I live, move, and have my being in a universal system of support, I guess that's really what I'm saying. That what I need, I have access to. I'm already in it. It's not something that I have to hope will show up. It's showing up if I'm open to it. In Beyond Limits, we used to talk about this universal goodness as love and support and intelligence, security, fulfillment, and the ability to contribute and to be creative and to have something new move through us. So there is a system that we belong to, and it's good because it wants to support us, because to support us is to support it. The body supports the cells because the body will not live without those cells. Now, access to that goodness. The way life flourishes is to provide access to what's needed to every part of the system. Every cell has access to the oxygen it needs, to the nutrients it needs, to the materials that it needs to do the job that it's doing. It has access to it. It doesn't have to call in. It has access. The system is set up that way. We have access to what is needed when we need it. I'll give you a few examples. I'm doing 2 retreats between now and the end of April, between now and Easter. And I want to do things I've never done before. And even though I have a few tricks up my sleeve, I want it to be meaningful and powerful, and I want to facilitate a shift in consciousness for everybody that attends. Well, when I'm quiet, I better have a pen and paper because I'm getting downloads of what can happen. I have access to all the information I need to have this work. If I'm quiet, it shows up. If I'm not reading books to figure out how someone else did it, I'm not using anyone else's materials, I'm like getting the information. I'm gonna just take notes. Speaking of taking notes, I was upset because the snow knocked out the gutters on our arena, and we just put in new gutters last year, but unfortunately they're not under warranty anymore. And like gone, I'm thinking, oh no, now we got to come. Okay, God, I'm a little money here because it's going to be expensive, And I think, oh well, I can dip into our savings. It's not a dip, it's a siphon. And then it just occurred to me, you have insurance. Oh, guess what? It's all covered by insurance. I know. I mean, that was a thought that's like just sort of downloads. We have access to more than we think we do. The answers are available if we just listen. One of the things that I love for people to do is to play a game called Unexpected Money. My practitioner class is playing Unexpected Money. It's important. It's an important game to play. Because if we do not play that game, we start to believe that the 1 or 2 or 3 sources of income are our 1 or 2 or 3 sources of income. We start to think that that's how we are supported. But if you play Unexpected Money, you realize money can come from anywhere because God is our support. The system wants to support us. The system is here for us. If we have something we need to do, the system provides it for us. But it's just a thought or a theory or an oaky philosophy unless we're willing to play the game of, okay, I'm open. I'm open to getting money from all sorts of sources. Hit me. It's really quiet. It's like, oh. But it's an important game to play so that we don't make our job our God, and we don't cling to it so much that we lose ourselves. Because even if you have a salary that pays you a lot, if you think that's the only way you will prosper, you become a slave to that job. You don't have a job, it has you. Now, what is ours to do? If we're here and we're to be supported, we have something that we are to do too. And what we are to do is what any cell would do, which is do the job that we were given to do. Our job is to find our passion, our gift, and share it and contribute it into the world. I'm hearing angels. Isn't it better than ring, ring? It makes it easy. We just have to say to ourselves, what am I sharing? What am I contributing? What am I giving to the system? And then the system gives back. That's what we're supposed to do. I talked about Jan Viney first service. Jan Viney had a very good job, but she wasn't really fulfilled. And out of nowhere, she thought, I'm going to take pictures of wildlife. And now she sells them all over the world. We have people who are discovering what is theirs to give, and they're finding ways to do that. And it doesn't have to be as a business. It could just be, how do I contribute to my family? How do I contribute to my children? I mean, really contribute. How do I contribute to my parents? How do I contribute to my neighborhood? How do I contribute to my country? What is mine to give to the system? You know, my husband is a wee bit different than me in some ways. Hi, honey. I love paying taxes. I love it because I like contributing to the system. I've been to other countries. I like it that if I mail something, it might arrive. I like it that even out in the boonies, there is a fire station only 2 miles from my home. I like it that children are being educated because I was. I like supporting the system that supports me. And the system does support me. What is ours to do? Ours to do is to find what we have and at any moment ask what is mine to contribute and mine to share. At any moment, what is mine to contribute and what is mine to share? The next thing that we need to do is to do forgive, 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 forgive. Because that's cleaning the toxins out of yourself and cleaning the toxins out of the system. That's a whole nother talk, it's a whole month. But if any of you know that you are holding on to a really good grudge because it's a really good grudge, it's a good one. And they so deserve it. You know, it's like the one. Fine, go ahead. Have that toxin eat away at you. But the cell is always releasing that which no longer serves the cell, and grudges do not serve us. And if you really want to make yourself even healthier, do what Jesus said, which is to pray for others. And it's not just be a practitioner and pray for those people that ask you for prayer, and it's not just those people that you love, and well, I love this person, and you know, she's got cancer and I'm going to pray for her, and my nephew lost his job and I'm going to pray for him. Jesus said, oh, you know what? Even bad people pray for people they like. It is absolutely no, you don't get any brownie points in heaven for praying for people you like. He didn't say that, but he meant it. I'm paraphrasing. I'm using Okie wisdom here. What he said is, you pray for people you don't like and you make sure and pray for your enemy. And this was brought home to me because one of the books that I was reading while I was being my nerdy self over the weekend was by Joel Goldsmith. And he was writing in the 50s. And he said, you know what? In the last 2 world wars, what I saw was churches and groups having prayer sessions and prayer circles and prayer meetings. And they would pray for our troops, and they'd pray for our country, and they'd pray for the end of the war, and none of them prayed for the enemy. And that's not the practice of Jesus Christ. And Jesus Christ, that wasn't his last name, by the way. Hello, Mr. and Mrs. Christ. I'm so grateful that I got to meet little Jesus. Anyway. Jesus became the Christ because he realized his oneness, and he was anointed to speak that out into the world. He knew the Father, the system and I are one. And if the system and I are one, I am one with my friends and I'm one with my enemies, and I want only good, and that's what I'm going to put into the system. See, that's a spiritual way of living that could shift us because we're so polarized right now. So, what would it be like if you recognized that there was a oneness that you could tap into, and what you needed could show up? I asked that once in a Beyond Limits class, and someone said I'd never be alone again. I wish I'd known that in junior high. That I'd have access to what I needed. See, access to what you need is different than I must make it up and create it and get it. It's much more receptive. The cell is porous, and it allows in that which is needed. Are we willing to allow into our life the good that's already available? It's here, we're one with it. What we do is we stop looking at the problem, we stop looking at them, we stop looking at the challenges, even the opportunities, And we look up and say, I'm ready to receive. I'm open. And so I bless this time that we have had together. I bless our coming together. And I bless our receptivity to the system of good, known by many names, and yet beyond all names. Life itself, truth, intelligence, eternal love. We are open. We are receiving. And so it is.